Hi there, welcome to Polkadot Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. So Polkadot has been continuing its trend. So we have been talking about this trend since as early as June, and currently the price is still staying on course above this upward trend line, meaning the Bollinger Band and corner squeeze is continuing. So I would say that's good news for those that has been patient for all this time, and we're getting very close to near the end of November, whereby that time the breakout should happen. So let's dive into both the weekly and daily charts and see, look at it in detail, what's going on. So Bollinger Band corner squeeze we just touched on. You see these patches at the back, meaning basically we are in a squeeze. So actually starting from June, this squeeze has already begun in the weekly time frame. So when such a squeeze happens in a weekly time frame, the subsequent swing is usually bigger. So according to my definition, a couple of these are basically a squeeze scenario, and you see these big swings. I'm just trying to show you, if you're new to my sessions, that something that goes into a technical defined squeeze as shown by this indicator. Unfortunately, Polkadot has none of those in the past 5 years. That's crazy. But you know my definition of it, so I don't wait for the indicator to show me these patches. So I've shared many times, these, when the purple get close enough to the orange, or actually touches it for just a short while, those are considered squeeze scenarios already, and that's when we see those kind of price swings afterwards, much like this over here, that's close enough, that's also touching the orange. Then the price continue to trade narrow range, and eventually it shoots up. Now this time you see we are getting into a squeeze, and the price has been trading in a narrow range since June. So this force gathered is huge. And looking at the Wyckoff stages, we talk about there's still a chance for the price to come back down to the white line, the support line, the bottom edge of the long-term playground zone, around $3.40 for a subsequent test before the price shoots up. That's what happened back in October, end of October last year. The price got down to a deeper test, or you can call that a spring. That's almost the same price as the selling climax. So whether you call that a test or a spring, it doesn't matter. But the closing price is absolutely lower than those. That's why I call that a spring. Back in October 2023, same thing happened. And now we're in October 2025, almost exactly the same period, and we are getting once again near the end of an accumulation cycle. If it happens the same way that it shoots to the buying climax in November all the way into December, that would be crazy, because for 3 years in a row we are in this cycle for Polkadot. Okay, enough coincidence talk. Let's get back to what we're seeing over here. So in the daily, before getting to the daily chart, in the weekly chart, these remain same, meaning well, actually this period may already be the backup last point of support period that we're going through over here. It's just a matter of time when this breakout happens. So this upward trend line, if we go to the daily chart, we can tell exactly what the date that is when the line crosses the red key level of around $4.30. That's December the 8th. December the 8th, meaning when the price continues to trade within this triangle, or somewhat, like sometimes it tested the red key level, but then just got rejected heavily over the past few times, when it continues to trade this way, eventually a breakout has to happen. So either the price has to break below this upward trend line, or the more likely scenario that it breaks the red key level eventually and heads towards the new distribution cycle in the bigger time frame. And currently in the daily chart, previously we've drawn a couple of Wyckoff tags, assuming those would happen, and indeed these two, more likely it's still the red scenario. The yellow is another hypothesis that I have, that if it is not a weakened or like a late stage distribution over here, that it has actually fallen to an accumulation cycle, the yellow scenario, then these yellow tags would be valid. But then it seems like it's still following the red scenario, meaning we had the buying climax back in mid-August, and then eventually we had the upthrust in mid-September, just a month after the buying climax, and then we had the upthrust of the distribution near the end of, well, on the 19th basically of September, and now it's just getting to the late stage of that distribution cycle where we continue to have these LPSY's last point of supply showing up. So that's why you see two sets of tags, Wyckoff tags over here, because sometimes is, especially in the daily chart, it's getting a bit tricky if the price consolidates or accumulates at a higher level. That seems to have created a different cycle, and if these are confirmed, because this is definitely coming down, so let's say the red scenario where we had the selling, the sign of weakness back in September 25th, 26th, around the price of $3.80, there chance of this coming back down would align what we have over there. That's well, 40 is somewhere near the white line, but we're talking about somewhere below here. So I would say still 40%, not as deep as the white line, but there's still chance over there. 60% would be coming up, and would that be an upwards of the distribution? The yellow scenario, it's a really tricky match between the weekly and the daily, because the daily obviously has its distribution cycle, but the weekly is still at a late stage accumulation cycle, so they are out of sync basically, unless like I said, these tags in the yellow scenario matches better, and then eventually when the price shoots up towards the buying climax, that's where the upthrust of the distribution is going to head crazily high. So I'll still put a 60%, but when we get to that point, we'll have to decide how to name these Wyckoff tags in the daily time frame, because that's just so different from the weekly. Okay, I think I've covered everything for Polkadot. Basically not much have changed, as you know it. We already talked about these for not even weeks but months. It's just a normal trend towards the end of the accumulation. Hopefully that's really the end of accumulation, and we finally are going to see some kind of uptrend for Polkadot, especially for the long-term supporters. You have been waiting for so long, and I believe it should be time for you to be rewarded. And when that happens, remember, we hope to see the price get to this purple key level, because that's where the previous two peaks were. If Polkadot remains its long-term, let's say just speculative value, then at least it should challenge the 10.3 purple key level. So first stop or like multiple stops in between, but that's definitely the ultimate goal. Thanks for joining me.